911, what's the address of your emergency? My friend called me, and he's like laying there with a bunch of blood. He's not breathing.
He's not breathing?
Oh my God, there's so much blood.
They find him laying on the ground. They quickly realize that this was a major crime that had occurred.
I was just trying to think of who it could have been that killed my brother.
We discovered that there were several cameras that showed in the last moments of the deceased's life.
And that's where leads started breaking for this case. Now we have a fugitive essentially on the run.
I have him on video at 3 different locations. The whole shooting is on video.
"20-year-old Gabriel Perez is on his way to hang out in the park with his sister and niece."
Hey, Lisa!
Hey!
Is that my favorite niece?
That's Uncle! Hi, Uncle! Whoa!
Gabriel was really goofy.
Hi! Hey!
Where's there?
That's my favorite niece, huh?
Just outgoing and loving with everyone, anyone and everyone. Just enjoying life, you know, going out, having parties.
Oh, you're having so much fun, aren't you?
He loved my daughter.
The kitty? What kitty?
He was the fun uncle as well.
Do you want to go higher, Bunny?
Gabriel was just really nurturing with her.
He always cared, like, if he saw you down in the dumps, he would say something really goofy to get you back up and going.
You're hanging with your skater buddies this weekend?
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna go to a party with Marianne.
The last time I saw Gabriel, we went to the park and we hung out.
So, Alpha.
If I would have known that that would have been the last time I actually seen Gabriel in person, I would have told him that I loved him.
Why? I never would think, you know, something like this could happen.
I got a party to go to, but catch you guys later.
Bye. Take care.
What's the address of your emergency? My friend called me and said that he fell on his skateboard and he was at McDonald's on me. And I'm over here, and he's like laying there with a bunch of blood, and you know, his eyes are open. He's not breathing.
He's not breathing?
Oh my God, there's so much blood.
The paramedics are on the way there, okay?
I'm so scared.
A 911 call came in indicating that a male had been injured, that he's bleeding. And until officers arrived on scene, they discovered something much worse had happened. They find him laying on the ground by the sidewalk in front of McDonald's. The 911 caller was with him. They assessed his injuries. They quickly realized that this was a major crime that had occurred.
The injured person is Gabriel Perez.
First responding officers began life-saving efforts, but he was pronounced deceased at the scene. By the time I arrived on scene, officers had cordoned off the area. We see he's got multiple apparent gunshot wounds.
Mr. Perez was shot 3 times. One of the bullets went through his heart, and that's what killed him.
The first thing I wanted to do was speak with the 911 caller, who was identified as Marianne Delgado.
Detective Hansen, Detective Jonas.
Fargo PD. Let's talk inside.
She was the only person on scene that knows the victim in this case.
Where were you and Gabe earlier this morning?
We were at a party.
She explained that the two had met up and went to a house party in South Fargo.
Was there any trouble at this party?
I don't think so. I left around 1.
She went back to Moorhead, Minnesota, and left Gabriel Perez back at this house party. Perez starts sending her several messages, and Perez wants her to come back. He wants a ride.
He said, "Yo, where are you at?" I said, "Moorhead." He said, "Can you come pick me up?"
What time was that at?
4:24.
Gabriel Perez was sending multiple texts, increasing in urgency. Around 5 a.m., Gabriel Perez sends her his last message.
"Please come and get me. I fell so effing hard and I'm bleeding bad."
What time?
5:21.
When she got there, she found out what state he was in and called 911. I started assessing the scene. I did a walkthrough of it. We see evidence of a shooting. There's bullet impact marks in the sidewalk and in the concrete in the parking lot, on the facade of McDonald's. 145 caliber casing was found on scene. So one of the questions is, where are the other casings?
Get forensics, have them comb the area, see if there's any more casings.
Yep. Gabriel Perez's cell phone was located near his body. We wanted to see if that had any location information to show his whereabouts leading up to his death.
Get a warrant for Gabe's cell phone. See who else he spoke to before he was shot.
Investigators give Gabe's family the news.
This one too.
I got a call from my mom,
Hey, Mom.
and she was crying. She ended up blurting out that Gabriel's dead. I remember just dropping on the floor. I just couldn't process any of it.
I hear loud banging on my door. And my dad comes in, and then he told me, and I'm like, Like, are you joking with me? Because it just didn't seem real.
My phone starts ringing. And it's my brother telling me, hey, they found Gabriel dead at McDonald's. Tears were running down my face. And it feels like my rib exploded. I can't even breathe.
There are no witnesses to the crime, so investigators pin their hopes on surveillance footage.
We quickly realized McDonald's had multiple cameras.
Okay, this one right here, this is gonna give us some good footage. We're gonna have this area covered.
It was very fortunate, in a sad way, that this shooting happened outside of McDonald's because there were several cameras pointed directly at the area of the shooting.
Excuse me, you the manager? I need to see your surveillance footage.
They have 2 cameras that covered the side of McDonald's where Gabriel Perez was shot. Camera 15 is pointing towards the south and the east, and that covers part of Main Avenue going towards the east of McDonald's.
Spin it from 5 a.m.
Stop.
That's him. Play that again.
We can see Gabriel Perez arrive at about 5:20 a.m.
Zoom in from there.
It's at about 5:21 a.m. You can see Gabriel appears to be using his cell phone.
That's when he texts Marianne Delgado.
He was messaging Miss Delgado to tell her to come pick him up, and had told her that he had slipped and fallen on his skateboard. From what you could see in the security footage, he looked uninjured.
We don't know if he did fall off his skateboard or if he was just trying to get Delgado to hurry up and get over to McDonald's. He then sits down on the curb. The next thing we see is a black SUV come flying into the parking lot.
The vehicle immediately approaches Perez, stops.
Gabriel Perez looks up to see who stopped abruptly right in front of him and immediately stands up and starts running to get away from this vehicle. We don't know why.
That kid looks scared.
The vehicle speeds out of the parking lot and then drives eastbound on Main Avenue.
We need a better look at that vehicle.
You have a camera facing the other way. Can we see that one?
The McDonald's restaurant had multiple cameras.
On this camera, Gabriel Perez sits down, just out of frame.
On the west-facing camera, we could see the vehicle enter the parking lot.
Stop. Play that again.
At 5:23 a.m., we could see the vehicle stop right in front of Gabriel Perez.
Zoom in.
The driver reaches across his body with his right hand. You can see a pistol in his hand. And he fires downward at Gabriel Perez. You can see the recoil from the gun as multiple shots are fired.
He's point blank shooting at the kid.
Perez runs away as far as he can before he collapses to the ground. The actions depicted in the McDonald's footage very clearly identified that the person who pulled that trigger was acting with an intent to kill.
Is that a white male?
Maybe black hair.
You could see that it was a man. You couldn't make out his features exactly, but you could tell that he was wearing some sort of gray shirt.
We really need to ID this vehicle.
Let's go back to the first angle.
Stop. Play that one more time.
We slowed it down, watched it several times, trying to identify what make and model that vehicle is.
That's a Chevy.
It appears to be a black Chevy Trailblazer. There was no license plate visible on the vehicle.
What's that on the rear windshield?
The video wasn't crystal clear, but we could see the vehicle had unique stickers that we keyed in on. There's one on the rear windshield. And there was also another sticker that stood out that was on the rear driver's side door. So we put a bolo out for law enforcement within the whole metro area to be on the lookout for this vehicle.
Next, investigators retrace Gabe's movements to find out what he was doing in the hours before his death.
Delgado told us that she picks up Gabriel Perez and they go to this house party with people that Delgado knew. So the next question was, did anything occur at this party that led to Gabriel Perez's death? Delgado said the people that were at the house party were a friend named Devin and Devin's boyfriend, Ryan. We speak with them.
Hey, this is Detective Hansen from Fargo PD.
What we learned from those interviews was that
you actually suck at this game.
Gabriel Perez showed up. He was hanging out with them. And at one point in the night, he receives some messages. And it seemed like it was possibly something concerning to Gabriel Perez, whatever conversation that he was having over his phone, but they didn't know who he was communicating with. Devin went to bed, and Gabe and Ryan were still up playing video games at the house. Eventually, Ryan went to bed while Gabe was still there. Next day, they wake up, and Gabriel was no longer there.
Okay.
No one really knew where Gabe was going when he left that night. He just left.
We wanted to know, who was Gabriel talking to? What would be concerning in his life? Why did Gabriel go to McDonald's at that time in the early morning hours? We wanted to establish not only his timeline of when he left that house party, but the specific route he took to get to McDonald's. We have a vehicle identified as a suspect vehicle. Is Gabriel Perez being followed by this vehicle along those routes? So it was important for us to find any and all video of Gabriel Perez's route. We looked at surveillance video from a traffic cam on 13th Avenue and South University Drive.
Spool it from 4 a.m.
Sometime after 4 a.m., Gabriel Perez was sending multiple texts telling Delgado he needs a ride. He arrived at McDonald's at 5:20 a.m., so that's the time frame we want to grab this video from.
Look. That's him.
The traffic cam at University and 13th Avenue showed Gabriel skateboarding at 5:09 a.m.
We could see in that video that Gabe was traveling alone, and he was traveling north.
It's pretty much just him on the street by himself. Watching this video of Gabriel Perez en route to McDonald's, nothing stood out as concerning.
So at that point, the suspect vehicle was still at large, and we had no identified person associated with the shooting.
Across the state line in Moorhead, Minnesota, Gabriel's family is in shock following his murder.
It's heart-shattering, you know? Like, you don't know what to do in that situation. What can you do?
Police can only do so much, but we wanted more to be done. We wanted to know who it was.
Gabe's family was very upset about what had happened, and they took it upon themselves to start solving the crime.
In Gabe's bedroom, the family finds a crucial piece of evidence.
My brother calls and says, hey, I found a phone number. It's not gonna get you nowhere is what I told my brother. It's probably nothing. But he proceeded it and called it anyway.
Hello?
Hello? This is Gabriel Perez's uncle?
There's a frantic woman on the other side of the line, and she just starts bawling, saying, Gabriel's dead because of me. It's my fault he's gone.
Hold on. It's okay. Stay on the line.
He's trying to calm her down, try to get more information.
I want to help you.
Then she hangs up. At that point, I'm shocked, and like I told him, if it's a Minnesota number, a Moorhead number, she has to live close.
Yeah.
Approximately 6:40 p.m., we receive a phone call from the uncles of Gabriel Perez.
And what did she say?
They spoke with a female. This female implied that she had knowledge that Gabriel Perez was dead. She was expressing guilt over his death.
She didn't identify herself at that point.
What was that number?
But we knew this number connects to somebody that's going to get us directly to the killer.
Run this.
So we have that phone number ran through the Fargo police records.
Okay, thank you. Any hits?
Looks to be a VO number.
Turns out that that phone number was actually a voice over IP number ran by a company called Text Now.
I'm gonna call the DA and we're gonna get a subpoena.
So I submitted an emergency disclosure to Text Now to identify who this woman is.
Just 20 minutes later, investigators received news of another potential breakthrough in the case.
Moorhead police called us and said they located a black SUV that appears to be a black Chevy Trailblazer. So this case is now moving at an extremely fast pace.
The vehicle itself matched the broad description of what was seen on the McDonald's video.
This vehicle was parked in an apartment complex. Black Chevy Trailblazer, no license plate.
There was a sticker on the back of the vehicle which had been partially peeled off.
That sticker that we could see on the surveillance video from McDonald's had been removed. However, they did a poor job at removing it. It was apparent it was the same vehicle.
Well, what do we got here?
There's actually a fired cartridge casing on the outside of the front windshield, right by the windshield wipers. And it's a .45 caliber casing, consistent with the one we found at the scene. My thoughts are, what are the odds? We then obtained a search warrant and subsequently searched the vehicle. One of the things that was found is a receipt.
See that?
And it's an ATM withdrawal receipt.
From Vision Bank in Fargo, we could see that there was a time and a date stamp. September 22nd at 9:04 p.m. The night that Gabe was killed.
So my next step is I went to Vision Bank and obtained a subpoena requesting that they provide me with any surveillance video the bank has to see who was withdrawing that money at that time.
While investigators wait for the ATM footage, they receive a report on the number that was found in Gabe's bedroom.
Hey, I got a name to match that number.
Shortly after midnight, Text Now gets back to us. I start looking through Text Now's data, which identifies the subscriber as Izetta Cooley.
Detectives run a background check on Izetta. She's a 39-year-old mother of 7.
Izetta Cooley and her husband have multiple children together. They reside in Moorhead. Now we have a big decision on our hands. How do we try to reach out to Izetta in a way that's not going to precipitate further violence? What we decide is we can't risk reaching out until we knew more information.
Why don't you pull up her social media?
Initially, we didn't see any direct link to Gabriel Perez. He's like 20 years old at the time, closer to the age of Izetta Cooley's oldest children.
Investigators analyze Gabriel's Facebook records.
I saw on September 20th, he friended Izetta Cooley. And we can see some Facebook messages between Izetta and Gabriel Perez. Looking through those messages, initially, Izetta sent Gabriel messages saying she was looking for her daughter, and quickly, Gabriel Perez turns a message to Izetta saying how he thinks Izetta was attractive. And that appeared to spark conversations back and forth that read pretty flirtatious between the two of them.
Through the course of the next several days, Izetta and Gabe keep talking.
On September 21st, Gabriel seemed to initiate trying to coordinate a time to meet, that the two were going to be romantic with each other. And And then a few hours before the murder, the messages drastically change. Izetta's messages about meeting up with Gabriel appeared to be increasing in urgency.
Izetta reached out to Gabe to set up a meetup at the McDonald's restaurant. And that morning,
She's setting up the meet.
within minutes of him arriving, Gabe reaches out to Izetta and tells her, "I'm here at the McDonald's."
2 minutes after Gabriel sends the message, the driver of the SUV shoots him dead.
The next step was figuring out who it was that was driving that Trailblazer and who pulled the trigger.
Investigators received the surveillance footage from the ATM at Vision Bank.
The receipt showed the withdrawal of the ATM on September 22nd at 9:04. So I wanted to see who was operating the vehicle at that time. And I start looking at that video. I see a black SUV appearing to be a black Chevy Trailblazer. It pulls right up to the ATM. And that's where you get a good look of the driver withdrawing cash.
Stop.
You can see the stickers in the vehicle that matched the McDonald's video.
I'm gonna rewind this.
Most notably, you can see who's driving. He's dressed in the same clothing that the shooter appeared to be wearing in the McDonald's video.
Here's our shooter.
He's getting that receipt.
That was a pretty big moment in the investigation, but now we needed to identify the driver. When we found the vehicle, there was no license plate, but the vehicle has a vehicle identification number or VIN number. We ran the VIN number of that vehicle, and the VIN number came back to Izetta Cooley.
Check for everyone who lives at that residence.
We start running backgrounds on them to figure out as much as we can. Izetta Cooley was married to Miguel Cooley Sr.
Investigators pull up Miguel's license. The photo is a match for the driver in the ATM footage.
There's no doubt it was Miguel Cooley Sr. driving that vehicle. We've now got a suspect identified. So now we have to go apprehend him. We obtain a search warrant for Miguel Cooley's residence.
Fargo PD, we have a warrant to search your property.
Izetta's home. She was somewhat cooperative, but, you know, kind of standoffish a little bit. She says that Miguel Cooley is not at home. If we don't find Miguel Cooley there himself, the evidence we're looking for is any firearms, particularly a pistol. We found a lot of ammunition, some of it 45 caliber, consistent with what we found at the crime scene. We also come across 3 sets of Chevy keys. That's a significant piece of evidence. Those keys link that vehicle to that residence.
That solidified the connection between Miguel Cooley and this crime.
We request that Izetta turn over her cell phone.
Investigators take Izetta to the police department for questioning.
You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can only be used against you in a court of law.
She's interviewed by law enforcement. I remember that being a very bizarre interview.
You can't do this. I'm barely keeping it together as it is, man. I can't even breathe. I can't even breathe.
Izetta was not the most cooperative during the interview. She was very vague on a lot of things. I asked her if she was engaging with some sort of romantic relationship with Gabriel Perez.
There was no relationship.
Why didn't you want to meet with him? Because messages read like you two are flirting.
I wasn't having a relationship.
So you were just toying around with him? Or just flirting, kind of for fun? Well, then what does it mean?
Izetta Cooley also was maintaining her husband's innocence.
No, I think you're here to incriminate me.
I don't know that we can incriminate him more than he's incriminated. The whole shooting on video.
You guys don't understand. It's not, I'm not talking to you anymore.
Mayville County Sheriff's Office.
I believe I've seen a dead person. Their face looks all beat up.
I just couldn't understand why somebody would do that.
There's someone going out and killing people. We don't know what the circumstances are.
We were able to review surveillance videos that show this white SUV heading towards our crime scene. We needed to interview these 3 people and see where they were on the night of the murder.
Let me tell you this, guy. I've got you on video. We've got you on video.
Uncle Johnny, he had come by our house.
I have gifts for my birthday, girls. Oh, good to see you.
And he had brought some birthday gifts for our daughter and for my wife, who have a birthday within 7 days of each other. Uncle Johnny was a very fun guy to be around. He was very welcoming, very warm, and very kind.
Here you go. We lived about an hour and 30 minutes from my mother's house in Mobile, Alabama, where my Uncle Johnny, my mother, and my grandmother lived. My Uncle Johnny started working as a flight attendant when he lived in Venezuela. He loved to travel around the world, and he got to meet a lot of people. After my Uncle Johnny stopped being a flight attendant, he moved to the United States and started working in the aerospace company as an interior mechanic. He was very social. He was going on dates, but he didn't have a long-time partner at the time.
Finally found Mr. Right?
No, but hope springs eternal.
Johnny was looking for Mr. Right, if you will.
Maybe one day, yeah.
He had so much to offer, and I think he wanted to share that with someone.
You have a great birthday. Take care. Good to see you. Charlie, gotta go. Don't play later. All right? Say bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Say bye.
Bye-bye.
Dile bye a tío.
Mayville County Sheriff's Office.
There's a cul-de-sac off of Boiler Road. I believe I've seen a dead person laying there.
Okay.
Their face looks all beat up, and they're laying there on their back. I'm pretty sure it's a human. I didn't get out to look. It was freaking me out a little bit.
All right. We'll get a deputy to meet you there, okay?
Thank you, ma'am.
It took 20 to 30 minutes to get to the scene. I was the commander over Criminal Investigations Division. It was in a remote area, so it was clearly a dump job. It was in a dead end of what was going to be a residential area that never really got developed. So there were no cameras or anything in the immediate scene.
Patrol officers secure the location before the investigators arrive.
What do we have here? Detective Gazier was the lead investigator assigned to this case.
EMS arrived with patrol officers, and they checked the vitals of the victim, and he was pronounced deceased on the scene.
There was lividity and rigor mortis setting in, so we knew that he had been expired for at least a few hours.
The trauma appeared to be a gunshot wound above his right eye.
There was apparent blunt force trauma to his face with teeth missing. His pants pockets had been turned inside out. There was loose change on the ground.
Looking around further, we found the tooth and a toothbridge. We looked for a cell phone and a wallet and could not find one.
There was a debit card lying near the body, which allowed us to quickly identify the victim.
Johnny Sokies. Run it. See what comes up.
We were able to take the name off of the ATM debit card, Mr. Johnny Sokies, and put it into our system. Was able to pull his driver's license picture up and identify him.
Contact the bank, get the bank transaction records.
Our next move was to make contact with Mr. Sokies' family. Johnny's address was about 6 miles away from the crime scene.
Aló.
My grandmother called me.
Abuela, ¿qué pasó?
Very frantically that morning. The cops knocked on her door, and my grandmother doesn't speak any English, so she gave the investigator the phone.
How can I help?
They told me that my uncle had been murdered.
I'll be right there.
When I arrived at the house, the investigators were there, as well as my husband. And then my mother got home.
Mami, siéntate. Mataron a Johnny.
No. Fue muy difícil, muy doloroso. Johnny era mi hermano. Nos abrazamos y lloramos y no sabíamos qué había pasado.
There's a language barrier with Inui, so Donnie was our translator.
Can you think of anyone who would want to hurt Johnny?
¿Hay alguien que le quiere hacer daño?
No.
Johnny had no enemies. I don't know of anyone that Johnny disagreed with.
Was he in a relationship?
I immediately told them about the dating app and the social media accounts.
Johnny was using the apps to look for relationships and love.
Do you know when he left?
¿Sabe a qué hora se fue?
Nui stated she went to bed around 10 p.m. and Johnny was still watching television. Around 7 a.m., when she woke up, she found Johnny's bedroom door open and the front door unlocked. We asked Inui if Johnny had left in his vehicle, and she said no, that the car was still there. She stated that Johnny had to have left with a friend or someone he knew.
A search of his room and the residence revealed that there was no wallet or cell phone of Mr. Sokies found at his house.
Thank you very much for your help. Gazier,
Meantime, investigators receive a list of Johnny's bank transactions.
Okay. We made contact with Wells Fargo, and they provided us with Johnny's last transaction, which was a withdrawal from an ATM about 10 minutes away from Johnny's house. That was made at 3:25 a.m. on the morning Johnny was killed. We also found out that the ATM had surveillance, and they advised they would be sending us those surveillance shots the next morning.
Investigators searched Johnny's neighborhood for home security cameras that might reveal when he left home to go to the ATM.
We observed some cameras on a house about 3 houses east of Johnny's residence. We made contact with that resident.
Hey, I'm Deputy Kazir. Can we take a look at the footage from that camera?
We knew Johnny was at the ATM at 3:25, so we started looking at their surveillance footage starting at 3 a.m. She tells us that it's motion activated and that it only picks up when motion such as a vehicle or someone walks by in front of the residence.
Play that part again.
At 3:15, we observed a white mid-sized SUV traveling towards Johnny Soki's house.
Who's behind the wheel?
It didn't show the SUV physically at Mr. Soki's house, but at that particular time, at 3:15 in the morning, most people are asleep. This was the only vehicle in the area.
How's it there?
The camera captures the partial roadway.
Zoom in there.
We attempt to zoom in to get a description of the driver and the license plate, but it was just too distorted.
We're not able to make out a specific make and model.
We can just get the color of the vehicle and that it was a white SUV.
Play it.
This residence with the surveillance is 3 houses down and just on the opposite side of the street. So we believe as it gets off of the camera angle, it stops at Johnny's residence, picks him up, and then they leave that location.
We knew that he had gotten a ride from someone because we think he's minutes later at the ATM. And this clearly validates that he did leave with another person.
Thanks, Mayor.
Investigators review the information from local traffic cameras to try to identify the SUV.
So we gathered data from a tag reader that we have located at Children's Airport near the ATM. The tag reader had picked up a vehicle matching the description from the surveillance camera. This time of morning, that was the only vehicle that passed through the intersection.
We ran the vehicle's license plate to figure out who the registered owner was.
Located that vehicle at an apartment complex, followed that vehicle from the apartment complex to the airport, and then made an investigative stop. I was notified, and then I responded out. There was just one occupant in the vehicle, which was the driver. So I interviewed that individual on the scene at the airport. The driver was identified, and he worked for Allied Taxi Service. I'd asked him if he had picked Johnny up, and he said no. He stated that he'd picked up a couple of fares in the area. I asked him what time. He said he picked up a fare from a hotel and then was at the airport at around 3:25.
I went to the airport to gather surveillance footage.
Let's start from 3:25. There it is.
Zoom in there.
The footage showed the taxi driver at the airport at 3:25 dropping fares off.
And we knew that at 3:25, Johnny Sokeys and another white SUV were at the Wells Fargo bank withdrawing money. So the taxi driver was telling the truth about what he had done and where he had been. His story was corroborated with video evidence, and he was no longer a person of interest after that.
Okay, thanks.
The next morning, Johnny's family are still coming to terms with what's happened.
No tengo idea por qué un ser humano le quita la vida a otro ser humano, más mi hermano Johnny.
It was very sad and quiet. He was always the loud one, and not having him there and knowing what happened was really hard for all of us.
Seeing his bedroom off the corner of the living room, knowing that he's never going to walk through the door again was the hardest part.
So on October 26th, the day after Johnny Sokeys' murder, I received the footage from Wells Fargo of Mr. Sokeys' transaction.
I got images from the bank.
So we were expecting, a full motion video, but this was just still shots of the transaction.
Show me the first one. That's Johnny.
We see Johnny standing at the ATM holding his phone and his wallets. He's wearing a red shirt, the same red shirt that we found him in at the crime scene.
Show me the next image. Zoom in on the background.
And then we also see this white SUV in the background that matched the description of the surveillance that we had captured from Johnny's neighborhood. This is big. At this point, we knew Johnny had his wallet and his phone on him. And then this also confirms the vehicle that we observed in Johnny's neighborhood as being the vehicle that picked him up.
I think I recognize the model.
We was able to key in on a feature on that vehicle. There was a light that was located underneath the side view mirror. So it appeared to be a Lincoln Aviator.
Go to the next one. Who's that?
We can see Johnny Sokeys in the video with an unknown black male standing behind him and the white SUV in the background behind that male.
This didn't seem right. This individual standing behind Johnny.
Can you clean it up?
This is the best I can get.
We knew that we needed to find out who this individual was.
We want to track where this vehicle came from to look for other video where we could get a visual of the driver of the vehicle.
So at this point, we've established Johnny was picked up at his residence. He had made the withdrawal at the ATM, and then we established the crime scene where Johnny's body was located.
We were able to pull up an aerial map of the subdivision. There's only 2 points of entrance and exit to this neighborhood, and that helps you determine where to canvass for surveillance video.
Deputies search for security cameras along the route between Johnny's house, the ATM, and the crime scene.
We were able to retrieve surveillance videos from multiple businesses with several different cameras.
plate?
Palmer's Airport Toyota has a surveillance camera that captures the ATM across the street.
Play that part again.
Zoom in there.
There goes the Lincoln.
At 3:24, I see the white Lincoln Aviator pull up across the street at the Wells Fargo ATM. And we can see Johnny walk to the ATM. He goes back to the car.
Once he leaves the ATM, we need to see which route he took to get to Linda Court.
Bring up the next camera.
We're able to almost live time see the progression of where this vehicle goes.
At 3:27 a.m., the Food Mart on Dawes Road captures the white Lincoln Aviator traveling southwest, which is about a mile from the ATM.
Pause it there and punch in on the plate.
We were unable to get a tag number off of the white Lincoln Aviator.
What else we got?
At 3:31, we observe the white Lincoln Aviator pass in front of Pete's Place, which is about 1.5 miles from Dawes Food Mart. The vehicle was traveling southwest toward Linda's Court, where Johnny's body was found. So at this point, we have a clear direction of travel, and we believe Johnny is in the vehicle, who is being driven by a male with a blue shirt who could be Johnny's killer.
Investigators received the report from Johnny's autopsy.
Thanks.
The autopsy report said that Johnny suffered a gunshot wound above his right eye, and there was a .44 Magnum projectile retrieved from his jaw. He was also beaten so badly, his dental bridge broke.
Next day, investigators received the report on the GPS data from Johnny's cell.
Give me those locations.
Johnny's first cell phone ping was at 3:21, which tied into the neighbor's surveillance video across the street of him leaving his neighborhood. The phone continued to ping toward the ATM and then along the route that the white SUV took to the crime scene.
At 3:38 a.m., Johnny's phone pings at Linda Court, where the 911 caller finds his body 8 hours later. But this is not the last ping.
At 4:20 a.m., there's one final ping.
Johnny Soki's phone was powered off at 4:20 around Carroll Plantation and Old Pascagoula Road, which is about 10 to 15 miles from Linda Court, where Johnny Soki's body was discovered.
We believe that this is where the suspect could have went after the crime.
Thanks. Speak. I gotta leave. Let's go.
Investigators zero in on the precise location of the final phone ping.
On October 29th, I was in the area of Old Pascagoula and Carroll Plantation Road attempting to locate Johnny Soki's cell phone when I observed a white Lincoln Aviator parked outside some apartments and was able to observe a tag number on the vehicle. I watch a black male and a white female enter the white Lincoln Aviator. At which point they exit the apartment complex and travel west on Old Pascagoula Road. I stayed at the apartment. Other investigators were able to catch up with the vehicle on Old Pascagoula Road.
It pulls into a local convenience store.
81 clear. 8814 clear.
The female gets out. The driver remains in the car, drives away from the business, gets back on Old Pascagoula Road.
Investigators run the aviator's license plate. The vehicle is registered to a Kenzie Fisher. She is the passenger inside the vehicle that detectives are surveilling.
We were able to find a relationship to that passenger of a black male with the name of Sobrante Rhodes. And we was able to identify the driver being Sobrante Rhodes. With that information, we were also able to ascertain that he had some active warrants on him.
So as I'm observing the apartment complex, the white Lincoln Aviator returns. Minutes later, a car pulls up next to the Lincoln Aviator.
White male gets out of the car, goes over to the vehicle, gets into the passenger side of the Aviator.
The white Lincoln Aviator drives out of the apartment block. They're then observed traveling just down the street to a business complex where they park in front of a business.
So we conducted a traffic stop on that vehicle. We remove Sobrante from the driver's side, and we remove the white male from the passenger side. We detain the two. From that point, we seal the vehicle, and we have it towed and impounded. We sent another unit to the convenience store, and they detained the female passenger that was dropped off. We needed to interview these 3 people to find out their whereabouts on the night of the murder.
We interviewed the passenger of the white Lincoln Aviator, Connor Moretti.
We asked Connor Moretti who Sobrante Rhodes was to him and how we knew him.
That's the first time I met him. I don't even know his name. Did you message him or he messaged you? I messaged him this morning, and then we arranged hookups. Yeah.
Yep.
That's it.
Okay.
He expressed interest. We traded pictures.
It's interesting to see this guy had met Sobrante Rhodes on a dating app, just like Johnny Sokeys did. We asked Connor Moretti if he knew Johnny Sokeys.
Does that guy look familiar to you at all? He messaged me one time, but I didn't respond. He's from Venezuela? I don't know his name. I just know
Would it still be in your phone?
No, because...
How do you know he messaged you?
I remember that face. That's just one of those faces you'll recognize.
You never messaged him back?
Just nothing tight.
After a search of Connor Moretti's cell phone, we observed there was no communication between him and Johnny Sokeys on the night of the murder.
This gentleman had no involvement in the murder of Johnny Sokeys.
So we was able to mark him off the suspect list.
Next, investigators interview Sobrante's girlfriend, Kenzie Fisher.
We asked her where she was on the night of October 24th. She said she was home at her apartment.
What time do you go to sleep that night?
9:30.
Okay.
Now, I have trouble sleeping. If he's not in the bed with me, I usually wake up.
She woken up around 2 a.m. and realized Sobrante was gone.
You get up at 2:02 Friday morning. So you got up, okay, you look around, the truck's gone.
And she texted him at the time to see where he was.
He was on my way. It's at 2:21.
Some time lapsed, and he was still out. At 3:53 a.m., she texted Sobrante again.
So you sent this message at 3:53. He's not home yet.
I asked her if she suspected him of messing around outside their relationship.
I do.
What's your suspicions of that?
Having a different female.
Why do you think that?
Because he disappears in the middle of the night.
I asked her if Sobrante was seeing men outside of their relationship.
I've never
suspected him of being like that. Never given you any inclinations that he would
be sexually attracted to another male.
Okay. She was quite surprised. So I showed her the surveillance footage from the ATM.
Just tell us if you recognize the person in the picture, what his name is.
It looks like the Fonte, but I can't make it out.
Yeah. See the vehicle?
Yeah, I do see the vehicle, and that does look like my vehicle.
I felt that she was upfront about her story and where she was that night. She showed us the messages that she was sending Sobrante that night, asking his whereabouts. So that confirmed her alibi. Her messages also confirmed that Sobrante Rhodes was not home on the night of the murder.
Investigators released Sobrante's girlfriend without charge.
Later that day, I interviewed Sobrante Rhodes.
Unrelated to your warrants, we want to talk to you about another case we've been investigating. Or you wouldn't talk to us?
Yeah, I would on a case.
Okay.
We confronted Sobrante about these dating apps. At first, he was standoffish.
Are you bisexual?
Honestly, I'm not bisexual. I have did it. Yes, I'm bisexual.
Okay.
So I asked Sobrante Rhodes if he met someone by the name of Johnny on the dating app.
I met him on the chat site.
John who?
I don't know his last name. Hispanic dude.
So Sobrante told us that he had picked Johnny up from his house.
Where'd you meet him at?
I met him at his house.
Okay. Did you take him anywhere?
I took him to the ATM machine.
What ATM did I go to?
On Schillinger, Fargo.
Wells Fargo?
I took him right back home. I wasn't gone away from my girl no time.
So I asked Sobrante the route that they had taken.
When I went home, I went back up airport and I walked the way up Schillinger.
All the way down Schillinger. You ain't got nowhere else?
Nowhere else.
You should have been back home around 3:30, you're saying?
Yeah.
We knew that Sobrante was not telling the truth because we had got video surveillance from Johnny's neighbor that shows Sobrante picking Johnny up but never bringing Johnny back home. So we confronted him with that.
Let me tell you this, okay? We've got you on video going to get Johnny. Got you on video at the ATM with Johnny. Got you on the video leaving the ATM with Johnny. Y'all didn't go directly back home. Y'all went down Dawes Road.
No.
I've got you on video. We've got you on video.
I ain't killed nobody, man. I swear to God.
Did Johnny kill himself? Let me ask you, did Johnny kill himself?
I did not kill nobody, man. I did not take that man nowhere. Oh, God, no, I want a lawyer, man.
So Sobrante Rhodes, at that point, asked for a lawyer, and then we ceased the interview.
So at this point, the interview has stopped. The investigators have enough, at which point our office did approve a murder charge for Sobrante Rhodes.
Investigators inform the family of their progress.
Hi.
The investigators called me and told me that they found a suspect, the suspect that was driving the car that night.
What's his name?
I had never heard of Sobrante before.
Mi hija Donnie me dijo que había un sospechoso. Tuve fe en ellos que iban a resolver la situación.
I feel like it was relief for Donnie and her mom and grandmother.
It was a sigh of relief to know that this individual was off the streets, but there's still a lot of work to do. We knew Johnny died from a single gunshot wound to the head from the .44 Magnum.
Ideally, you'd have the murder weapon, you'd have anything that caused the death. We didn't have a murder weapon in this case.
Finding this weapon was going to be crucial to closing this case.
Sobrante Rhodes is now in jail, and he's communicating via email with his girlfriend. He starts talking about the gun that was used in Johnny's murder and saying that it is in the possession of someone else. I swear I didn't kill this man. When I left him, he was alive. I bet if they run the gun from that 20-year-old kid that did the shooting at Exxon Mobil in Theodore gas station the other day, it be a match. I don't run with this kid, but I seriously think he killed the man I'm charged with killing. I need to see someone. They got me so wrong. Sobrante Rhodes is saying that someone else was involved in this and that he did not do it.
Investigators review the case file for the shooting that Sobrante describes in his email. They discover that Mobile Police Department arrested 20-year-old Cameron Sullivan for an armed assault at an Exxon gas station 8 days after the murder of Johnny Sokis.
I contacted the case agent working the case, and he gave me the details and told me that they collected a .44 Magnum from the shooting.
The gun was then sent to the Alabama Department of Forensic Sciences and tested against the bullet that was recovered from Johnny Sokis. It turned out that it was a match, and that was the gun that was used to kill Johnny Sokis.
Is Sobrante the person that killed Johnny? Or could Cameron Sullivan be Johnny's killer? We interviewed Cameron Sullivan. We asked him about the .44 Magnum.
Cameron Sullivan tells detectives that he purchased the gun recovered from the gas station shooting for $100 on October 26th, the day after Johnny's murder.
He then indicated that he had purchased the gun from Sobrante Rhodes.
Cameron Sullivan told us that he was an associate to Sobrante. We was able to ascertain a phone communication between Cameron Sullivan and Sobrante the day after Johnny Sokis' murder.
Have you run his phone GPS?
The cell phone analysis of Cameron Sullivan's phone showed that he was out of state on the morning of the murder.
Thanks.
And so we knew he was not the one that killed Johnny Sokis.
Cameron Sullivan is uninvolved in Johnny's murder. Investigators charge him with no crimes in relation to the killing.
Sobrante Rhodes is trying to evade responsibility for Johnny's death. He clearly knows what happened. He's talking about the gun that was used in the murder. But now he's trying to put the gun and the shooting of Johnny on someone else.
Sobrante Rhodes' murder trial begins on May 15th, 2023. He pleads not guilty. Prosecutor Lauren Walsh sets out the chain of events that led to Johnny's murder.
I think Sobrante Rhodes was living a double, if not a triple life. He had a girlfriend who did not know where he was a lot of the time. He was with all kinds of other people she didn't know about. We know that Johnny and Sobrante were meeting up in the early morning hours of October 25th of 2019. We know that they went to the Wells Fargo ATM together, where they were seen on surveillance and where we know Johnny Sokis withdrew cash. Sobrante Rhodes did not take Johnny home after that.
I believe that he robbed him. I believe that he stole from him. And executed him. Sobrante killed Johnny Sokis for no reason at all.
We believe Sobrante Rhodes chose Linda Court to dump Johnny's body because it was quiet and secluded with no witnesses.
We know his pockets were emptied. We know his phone and his wallet were taken. We know that Johnny Sokis' phone, it ultimately last connected where Sobrante Rhodes lived.
Johnny's cell phone and wallet was never recovered. We believe when we detained Sabrante and Canamarate that day, Canamarate could very well have been his next victim.
On May 17th, 2023, the jury finds Sabrante Rhodes guilty of intentional murder. The judge sentences him to life without parole.
When we got the verdict, I felt immense gratification and relief that we were able to secure that conviction and get justice, as well as ensure safety for our community so that the public never has to worry about Sabrante Rhodes offending like that again.
He's a very violent person, and he's right where he belongs.
The surveillance footage was immensely important in investigating this case and ultimately securing the conviction of Sabrante Rhodes. It led us to understand where Johnny Sokeys was, what vehicle he was in, and ultimately who he was with.
I can't understand why this happened to him.
No verlo en la casa, mirar alrededor y no ver sus risas, sus abrazos, sus besos. Todos los días de mi vida lo extraño.
Shortly after this tragedy, there was actually some good news. My wife and I found out we were pregnant too. But we weren't ever able to share that with Johnny.
He was a great person and he did not deserve that at all. And we miss him very much.
Next time on See No Evil.
Kansas City 911.
Someone got stuck. Can y'all come, please?
This is a personal thing.
I shot him twice and then said, "Remember me, bitch."
If they go inside, we will have them at that point.
This is like the biggest nightmare I've ever had in my life.
Think about the last time you went out for a late night snack. Maybe the air was cool. The streetlights were humming with that low, electric buzz, and the only thing on your mind was whether you wanted a burger or a taco. It's one of those mundane, almost invisible moments of human life. We do it without thinking. We feel safe in the routine of it. For 20-year-old Gabriel Perez, that night in Fargo, North Dakota, started out just like that. Gabriel was a young man who moved with the world with a certain rhythm. If you lived in Fargo at the time, you might have seen him. He was the kid on the skateboard, the one who seemed to treat the pavement like a canvas. He wasn't just riding, he was expressing something. Friends would tell. He had this energy about him, a kind of quiet kindness, a way of making you feel seen without saying much at all. But on this particular night, the rhythm of Gabriel's life was about to collide with a completely different world. A world he didn't know existed, and one he had no part in. When we look back at tragedies like this, we often try to find a reason. We want to believe there's a logic to the universe, a sequence of cause and effect that makes sense. We want to believe that if we're good people, if we mind our own business, if we're just out getting food, the world will treat us with the same indifference we show it. But as we sit here and walk through what happened to Gabriel, we have to face a much more uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the most consequential moments of our lives are sparked by things so small, so seemingly insignificant, that they shouldn't matter at all. Fargo isn't the kind of place where people expect this kind of story to unfold. It has a reputation for being steady, maybe a bit cold in the winter, but generally a place where you know your neighbors. So when the call started, coming in from a fast food parking lot late that night, the local investigators knew immediately that the temperature of the city had changed. Imagine being the first officer on the scene. You pull into a parking lot bathed in that harsh, artificial yellow light. There's the smell of frying oil in the air, the sound of an idling engine somewhere in the distance. And there on the ground is a young man whose life is leaking away. No one is around. No one is shouting. Just the silence of a North Dakota night. The investigators found Gabriel near a skateboard. That detail always sticks. With me, it's such a poignant marker of who he was. He wasn't looking for trouble. He was just a kid with a board and a craving for a snack. But now he was a central figure in a mystery that felt entirely hollow. Why Gabriel? Why? Here? In the early hours of an investigation, there's a specific kind of tension in the air. It's not just the pressure to find a lead. It's the weight of the unknown. Usually when someone is targeted, there's a thread you can pull. A grievance, a debt, a history. But as the detectives began to look into Gabriel's life, they found nothing. No enemies, no shady dealings. Just a young man who loved his family and his friends. This is where the see no evil aspect of our modern world comes into play. We live in an era where we are constantly being watched, not by a person, but by lenses. Tiny, unblinking eyes perched on the corners of buildings, tucked under eaves mounted on traffic poles. They don't judge. They don't look away. They just record. The detectives turn to the CCTV footage from the restaurant. Now let's pause and think about what that's like for an investigator. You're sitting in a dark room, staring at a grainy monitor. You're watching the last minutes of a person's life. You see them walk in, you see them order, you see them smile at the cashier. It feels voyeuristic, and it feels deeply sad. You're watching a ghost who doesn't know he's a ghost yet. They track Gabriel's movements. He was there, he was fine, and then they saw it, a car, a dark sedan pulling into the lot. It wasn't a getaway car from a movie. It didn't look suspicious. It looked like any other car you'd see at 2 o'clock a.m., but the timing was a breadcrumb the detectives needed. As they scrubbed through the footage, they noticed a brief interaction. It wasn't a fight. There were no swinging fists or shouting matches visible on the silent film. It was just a moment, a look, a word exchange between Gabriel and the occupants of that car. You might wonder how a look can lead to what happened next. We've all had those moments in public. Someone cuts you in line or someone gives you a strange glance. Usually you move on. You forget about it by the time you've finished your meal. But for the people in that car, that moment didn't end. It grew. The detectives began a painstaking process. In the world of modern policing, this is the thinking part of the job. It's not high-speed chases. It's hours of digital canvas. They followed that dark sedan from one camera to the next, from the restaurant to a gas station, from the gas station to a residential street. They were stitching together a map of a person's life, frame by frame. And that's when they found them, a middle-aged couple. Now, let's stop for a second and look at that. When we think of violent crime, our minds often jump to a certain stereotype. We think of young, reckless individuals or career criminals. We don't typically think of a couple in there. Late 30s or early 40s, people who have jobs, who pay bills, who have a life established in the community. It felt wrong. It didn't fit the narrative. But the camera doesn't lie. The couple was identified as Malik Gill and a woman who was with him that night. When the police looked into them, the mystery only deepened. They didn't have a history with Gabriel. They lived in a different part of town. There was no obvious link. It was as if two separate orbits had accidentally grazed each other, and the resulting friction had caused a fire. When the investigators finally brought them in, the atmosphere in the interrogation room was heavy. Have you ever noticed how people act when they're caught in something they can't explain? Some people crumble, others become incredibly defensive, but the most unsettling ones are those who seem to believe they were justified. As the story began to come out, the deadly secret, the prompt mention started to reveal itself. It wasn't a secret about a hidden past or a criminal conspiracy. It was a secret of the human heart, a secret about how much anger a person can carry under a normal exterior. It turned out that the interaction in the parking lot was about respect. Let's think about that word for a moment. Respect. It's supposed to be something earned, something positive, but in some circles it's a hair trigger. It's a fragile thing that can be broken by a glance that lasts a second too long, or a tone of voice that sounds a bit too confident. To Malik Gill, Gabriel wasn't just a kid on a skateboard. Gabriel, in that one moment of interaction, became a representative of every slight, every frustration, and every perceived insult Malik had ever felt. The investigation revealed that after the initial interaction, the couple didn't just drive away. They circled back. They waited. Think about the deliberation in that. This wasn't a heat-of-the-moment reaction that happened in 3 seconds. This was a choice. They had minutes to cool off. They had minutes to realize that whatever had happened wasn't worth it. They could have turned the car toward home. They could have talked about what they were going to do the next day. But instead, they stayed in that orbit. The CCTV footage showed the car repositioning. It showed the waiting. And then it showed the moment Gabriel walked back out. He had no idea. He was likely thinking about his food or where he was going to skate next. He was 20. At 20, you feel like you have an infinite amount of time. You don't look at a dark sedan in a parking lot and think it's the end of your story. When the shot was fired, it wasn't just a physical act. It was the total collapse of reason. The detectives were struck by the coldness of the aftermath. The car just drove away. The couple went back to their lives. They went home. They probably slept. The next day, they likely did mundane things. They went to the store. They checked the mail. All while Gabriel's family was receiving the news that would shatter their world into a million pieces. I want to talk about Gabriel's legacy for a moment. Often in these stories, the victim becomes a footnote to crime. We focus so much on the who and the why of the perpetrator that we lose the who of the person we lost. Gabriel's friends held vigils. They brought their skateboards. The sound of wheels on pavement, the sound Gabriel loved so much, became a chorus of grief. His family spoke about a young man who was trying to find his way, who was gentle, who had a smile that could light up a room even on the grayest North Dakota winter day. He wasn't a skateboarder in a dismissive sense. He was an artist whose medium was movement. The contrast between the life Gabriel was building and the reason it was taken is what makes this case so hard to process. It wasn't over money. It wasn't over a woman. It wasn't a gang initiation. It was over perceived lack of deference. In a parking lot, when the case went to court, the room was filled with that specific kind of tension you only find when two worlds are forced to look at each other. On one side, you had Gabriel's family, people whose lives had been hollowed out. On the other, you had a middle-aged couple who looked like they could be your neighbors. The defense tried to paint a picture of fear or misunderstanding, but the prosecution had the silent witness, the cameras. They showed the waiting. They showed the return. They showed the intent. You see, the law cares about intent. It cares about the moment a person decides to cause harm. And as the evidence was laid out, it became clear that this wasn't an accident. It was a series of choices, each one more tragic than the Last, as a narrator, I often find myself wondering about the missing opportunities in these stories. What if the light had stayed green a few seconds longer? What if Gabriel had gone to a different restaurant? What if Malik Gill had just taken a deep breath? We call these things coincidence, but when they end in tragedy, they feel more like fate. But it's not fate, it's human agency. The jury had to look at the footage, just like the detectives did. They had to see Gabriel's last moments. They had to see the dark sedan. And they had to decide what justice looks like for a life cut short for no reason at all. Malik Gill was eventually convicted. The legal system did its job as much as it can. It provided a conclusion, a sentence, a box to check. But for Gabriel's mother, for his friends, there is no conclusion. There is only a before and an after. We look at this story and we want to find a lesson. Maybe it's about the danger of ego. Maybe it's about the weird reality of being constantly recorded. But I think, at its heart, it's a story about the weight of our interactions. Every person we pass in the street, every person we share a parking lot with, has a whole world inside them. They have people who love them, dreams they're chasing, and a favorite song. Gabriel Perez had all of those things. He was 20 years old, and he was just getting started. The silence in that Fargo parking lot that night was eventually broken by sirens and voices in the business of an investigation. But the real silence, the one that lingers, is the absence of Gabriel's skateboard on the pavement. As we finish this journey through a very dark night in North Dakota, let's take a moment to think about Gabriel, not as a victim in a documentary, but as the kid with the board. Let's remember that the human soul of a story isn't in the crime itself, but in the life that was lived before the cameras started rolling. And maybe the next time we're out late and we feel that flash of annoyance or that spark of disrespect from a stranger, we'll remember this story. We'll remember that everyone is fighting a battle we know nothing about, and we'll choose to just drive home. The investigation into Gabriel's death was a masterclass in modern forensics, but it was also a deeply human endeavor. The detectives who worked the case didn't just see pixels on a screen. They saw a young man who reminded them of their sons, their nephews, their friends. They felt the weight of the silence Gabriel left behind. In the interrogation room, the secret wasn't just about the shooting. It was about the fragility of the social contract. We all agreed to live together, to pass each other by, to be civil. When that contract is broken so violently for such a small reason, it shakes the foundation of a community. Fargo felt that shake. But communities also heal. They heal through memory. They heal through the stories we tell about the people we've lost. Gabriel Perez is more than a headline. He's more than a see no evil episode. He is a reminder of the preciousness of a mundane night, the beauty of a simple hobby, and profound responsibility we all have to one another. Think about the weight of that. Think about the legacy of a young man who just wanted a taco and a place to ride his board. As we look at the final frames of the story, we see the courtroom doors close. We see the families walking out into the North Dakota air. It's quiet again, but it's a different kind of quiet now. It's the quiet of reflection. We've walked through the investigation. We've seen the digital trail, and we've looked into the eyes of the people involved. And in the end, we're left with the same question we started with. How do we make sense of the senseless? Perhaps we don't. Perhaps we just bear witness. We look at the life of Gabriel Perez. We acknowledge the tragedy of his loss, and we carry his story forward. We remember the skateboarder. We remember the kid with the quiet kindness. And we realize that even in a world where cameras see everything, It's our hearts that have to do the heavy lifting. The story of the skateboarder and the middle-aged couple is a haunting one, not because of the violence, but because of the proximity. It happened in a place just like yours, to a person just like someone you know, for a reason that could happen to anyone. It's a reminder to hold on to the people we love, to be kind to the strangers we meet, and to never take for granted the simple rhythm of a life. In motion, Gabriel's board might have stopped rolling that night in Fargo, but the echo of its wheels continues to tell a story about a life that mattered, a story about a secret that shouldn't have been deadly, and a story about a young man who will always be 20, always be skating, and always be remembered by those who knew that his soul was far larger than the moment that took him away. As the sun comes up over the Red River, the city of Fargo moves on. People go to work. The fast food restaurants open their doors, and new kids find their way onto the pavement with their boards. Life, in its stubborn and beautiful way, continues. But if you look closely at the corners of the buildings, at the unblinking eyes of the cameras, you might think of Gabriel. You might think of the trail he left behind, not just on digital tape, but in the hearts of a community that refused to let him be forgotten. We've explored the investigation, the evidence, and the legal outcome, but the true end of the story isn't a prison cell or a court transcript. It's in the way we choose to move through the world after hearing it. It's in the human soul we bring to our own interactions. Let's be the ones who see the humanity in each other, even when the cameras aren't watching. Let's be the ones who understand that respect isn't something you demand with a weapon, but something you give by recognizing the value of a life. Gabriel Perez, 20 years old, Asson, a friend, a skateboarder. May we all find a bit of his quiet kindness in our own lives, and may we never forget the weight of the choices we make when the world feels small and the night feels long. The digital eyes of the city will keep recording. They will see the coming and going, the mundane and the extraordinary, but they will never truly understand the depth of what they're seeing. That's for us. That's our job as observers, as friends, as human beings, to look beyond the grainy footage and see the person, to see Gabriel. And so we leave the parking lot behind. We leave the interrogation rooms and the courtroom galleries. We head back into our own lives, hopefully a little more thoughtful, a little more aware of the ripples we leave in our wake. Because in the end, that's all we really have. The ripples, the stories, and the memory of a kid on a skateboard, moving through the world with a rhythm all his own. It's a long journey from a late-night taco run to a courtroom verdict. It's a journey paved with evidence, grief, and the slow realization of a senseless truth. But it's a journey we have to take together to understand the world we live in and the people we share it with. Thank you for walking this path with me, for looking at the small details, for considering the why, and for honoring the legacy of a life that was far more than the sum of its final moments. The air in Fargo is cold tonight, just as it was then, but there's a warmth in the remembering, a warmth in the story of Gabriel Perez. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. Let's pause one last time and think about that. Not the crime, not the deadly secret, but the person, the human soul at the center of it all. Because that is where the truth lives, not on a hard drive or a police report, but in the enduring, quiet, and deeply human story of the skateboarder. We see a pattern emerging in these stories, a pattern of missed opportunities and human frailty. But we also see a pattern of resilience and the search for justice. It's a complex tapestry woven from the mundane and the tragic. And as we fold it up and put away. We carry a piece of it with us. The investigation is over. The case is closed. But the story of Gabriel Perez, that's something that stays with you. It's a conversation that doesn't really end. It just changes shape. Think about that the next time you see a kid on a skateboard. Think about the rhythm. Think about the life. And remember that every single one of us is part of a much larger, much more connected story than we ever realize. Be safe, be kind, and always look for the human soul in the story. The streetlights are still humming in Fargo. The cameras are still recording. The world keeps turning. And somewhere, in the echo of a board hitting the pavement, Gabriel is still riding. That's the thought I want to leave you with. Not the darkness of the night, but the light of the person. Not the silence of the crime, but the music of the life. Because that's what matters. That's what's real. And that's what stays. As we close this chapter, let's hold on to that. The human story. The intimate, intelligent, and deeply human story of a life that was, and a legacy that remains. Goodbye for now, but keep listening, keep looking, and keep remembering. Because every story, no matter how tragic, has a soul, and it's our job to find it. We see the car drive away on the screen, fading into the grain of the low-resolution video. We see the police lights arrive. We see the end of the tape. But for those who love Gabriel, the tape never stops. They live in the frames of his life every single day. They remember his laugh. They remember his board. They remember the way he lived. And in that remembering, they find the only kind of justice that truly lasts. The justice of never being forgotten. The investigation into the shooting of Gabriel Perez was about more than just catching a killer. It was about reclaiming the narrative of a life. It was about saying that this young man mattered, that his life was significant, and that the reason it was taken was not his fault. It was a search for truth in a world of shadows. And while the truth was painful, it was also necessary. The middle-aged couple, Malik Gill and his companion, chose a path that night. They chose to let anger steer their car. They chose to let a perceived slight become a tragedy. And they will live with those choices for the rest of their lives. But Gabriel's story isn't about them. Not really. Their names will be forgotten. By most, their faces will fade. Gabriel Perez, however, will remain. He will remain in the stories told by his friends. He will remain in the vigils at the skate park. He will remain as a symbol of the fragility and the beauty of being 20 years old. So, as we finally step away from this story, let's do so with a sense of purpose. Let's look at our own lives and the choices we make. Let's realize that the secret to a good life isn't in avoiding conflict, but in how we handle it. It's in the human soul of our daily interactions. The digital witness saw it all. But you, the listener, you've seen something more. You've seen the person behind the pixel. You've seen Gabriel. And that in itself is a form of justice. We think about the detective's long nights, the family's lingering hope, and the quiet, profound moments that define a life. We think about the why and the how, but mostly we think about the who. Gabriel Perez, a skateboarder, a son, a human soul. The silence of the dead-end lead was eventually replaced by the clarity of the evidence. The atmosphere of the interrogation room gave way to the tension of the courtroom, and the final word was spoken. But the real final word belongs to Gabriel. It's the sound of his board on the pavement. It's the rhythm of his life. And it's a sound that will never truly fade away. Think about that for a second. Let it sink in, and then carry it with you. Because every story is a human story. And every human story deserves to be told. With care, with empathy, and with a deep respect for the life at its center. That's what we've tried to do here. To share a complex human story with a friend. To look beyond the cold facts and find the soul. And so we finish, not with a conclusion, but with a reflection. Not with a period, but with a pause. A pause for Gabriel. A pause for the life he lived. And a pause for the lessons he left behind. In the quiet of the night, in the hum of the streetlights, in the unblinking gaze of the cameras, the story continues. It continues in us. It continues in the way we choose to see the world. Let's choose to see it with heart. Let's choose to see it with humanity. And let's never forget the skateboarder from Fargo. The trial ended, the sentences were handed down, and the news cycle moved on to the next headline. But for the people who knew Gabriel, the world didn't just move on. It changed. It became a little quieter, a little more somber. When we look at the weight of the evidence, we often talk about proof beyond a reasonable doubt. But there's another kind of weight in these cases, the weight of the void left behind. How do you measure the loss of a future? How do you calculate the value of all the birthdays, the skate sessions, and the quiet mornings Gabriel should have had? The investigators felt that weight. You could see it in the way they talked about the case years later. It wasn't just another file in a drawer. It was Gabriel. There's a specific kind of silence in a house after a tragedy like this. It's a silence that sits in the corners of rooms, a silence that rings in the ears of a mother waiting for a door open that will never open again. We have to acknowledge that silence. We have to sit with it for a moment to truly understand the gravity of what happened. The deadly secret revealed by the CCTV wasn't just the identity of the shooter. It was a realization that violence can be so incredibly random and so devastatingly purposeful at the same time. It was a secret that none of us are truly anonymous in the digital age, and yet our internal lives remain a mystery to those we pass on the street. Mallet Gill and his partner were living a life that, on the surface, looked nothing like a precursor to a shooting. They weren't outlaws. They weren't desperate. They were just people who allowed a moment of ego to override their humanity. And that's perhaps the most frightening part of the story. It's not that evil exists in some far-off, recognizable form. It's that tragedy can be born from the most ordinary of circumstances, fueled by the most common of human failings. But let's shift our focus back to where it belongs. Let's think about the community of Fargo. In the wake of Gabriel's death, they didn't just retreat in fear. They came together. They built something. They turned their grief into a tribute. The skate park became a cathedral of sorts, a place where the sound of boards hitting the ramps wasn't just noise, but a defiant statement of life. Every time a kid lands a trick, or even every time a kid falls and gets back up, there's a piece of Gabriel in that. We often talk about closure in true crime, but closure is a myth. You don't close a book on a person's life. You just learn to live with the chapters that were written, and you mourn the ones that weren't. What the legal system provides isn't closure, it's accountability. And accountability matters. It matters that Mallet Gill was identified. It matters that the digital trail led the detectives to his door. It matters that the truth was told in a courtroom. Because without accountability, the tragedy is doubled. Without the truth, the memory of the person is buried under a layer of unanswered questions. By following the CCTV trail, the investigators did more than solve a crime. They restored a measure of dignity to Gabriel's memory. They showed that his life was worth the hundreds of hours of scrubbing through footage. They showed that he wasn't just a victim, He was a person whose life demanded an answer. And they found that answer in the most unlikely of places, in a dark sedan in a middle-aged couple, and in a secret of the heart that should have stayed small. As we look back at the entire arc of this journey, we see the fragility of it. Oh, we see how easily a life can be redirected and how permanently it can be stopped. But we also see the persistence of the human spirit. Gabriel's family and friends didn't let the shooting be the final word on his life. They made sure his legacy was about skateboarding, about kindness, and about the light he brought into the world. They chose to focus on the 20 years he was here, rather than the one night he was taken. And that is a choice we can all learn from. We can choose to look at the human soul of the people around us. We can choose to respond to the world with empathy rather than ego. We can choose to be the kind of people who make the world a little safer, a little kinder, just by being in it. The story of Gabriel Perez is a long-form tragedy, but it's also a long-form lesson. It's a lesson about the power of modern technology to bear witness, the dedication of those who seek justice, and enduring strength of a community in the face of loss. It's a lesson about the weight of our choices. So, let's go back to that thought we had at the beginning. The next time you're out for a late-night snack, and the air is cool, and the streetlights are humming, take a second, look around, see the people, recognize the humanity in the stranger waiting for their order next to you. Remember that everyone has a story. Everyone has a skateboard or a dream or a favorite person. And remember Gabriel. Remember the kid who was just out getting food on a North Dakota night. Remember his board. Remember his soul. The cameras will keep rolling. The detectives will keep working. And the stories will keep being told. But the most important part of any story isn't the crime or the investigation or the verdict. It's the human life at the center of it. That's what we've tried to honor here. The life of Gabriel Perez. A life that was cut short, but a life that continues to resonate. A life that matters. As the narration comes to an end, the images of the investigation fade. The transcripts are filed away, and the courtroom lights are turned off. But the rhythm of the skateboard on the pavement remains. It's a steady, persistent sound, a sound of movement, a sound of life. And in that sound, we find the true meaning of the story. We find the human soul. The trail of CCTV may have unlocked a secret with deadly consequences, but it also unlocked a profound truth about the interconnectedness of our lives. It showed us that no one is truly a stranger, and that every interaction, no matter how small, has the potential to change everything. Let's carry that truth with us. Let's be mindful of the ripples we create, and let's always remember the skateboarder. Goodbye, Fargo. Goodbye to the detectives in the courtroom and the dark sedan. And most of all, goodbye to Gabriel. You were here. You were loved, and you will never be forgotten. The story of the skateboarder is more than just an episode of a show. It's a testament to a life. It's an invitation to think, to feel, and to understand the deep, complex humanity that exists in every one of us. Thank you for being part of this journey. Thank you for listening. And thank you for caring about the human soul in the story. The night is quiet now. The streetlights are still humming. And somewhere out there, the rhythm continues. One wheel at a time. One trick at a time. One life at a time. Remember Gabriel. Remember the skateboarder. And remember to always lead with heart. The investigation is done. The narration is complete. But the reflection? That's just beginning. Think about it. Truly think about it. And let the story of Gabriel Perez change you just a little bit for the better. That is the power of a human story. And that is the legacy of the skateboarder. In the end, we are all just people moving through the world, looking for a snack, looking for a ride, looking for a connection. Let's make those connections count. Let's make the world a place where every skateboarder can ride safely into the dawn. Good night, and take care of one another